Manchester City, obviously the hot topic, always the 115 charges. Daily Mail is reporting that those charges could actually cost the Premier League tens of millions of dollars in legal fees. Do you think that's likely if they're going to go ahead and win this case?
Absolutely, it's going to be a huge number, and we know that Man City have lawyered up to an incredible degree. They've got the all-star team of King's Counsels working for them. The Premier League have got to have something similar in kind. Now, all that money is coming from the 20 shareholders who own the Premier League. That's coming from either sponsorship fees, like the naming rights for the Premier League. So if it's the Barclays Premier League, that sort of money normally goes into the Premier League's coffers to run the administration. But now we're seeing something like 4, 5, 6 times more than normal for a budget that's required by the Premier League, all because they've got to, I get they've got to maintain the rules, and the City things are different from PSR. But to get involved in such a cost without having found a way or trying harder to find some sort of solution before this, it's very hard to take. I get there is a cost of keeping the rules in place and upholding the rules. I understand that completely. But there's got to have been a more cost-effective way to have tried to resolve this in some way. I have yet to see or even hear if there's been that sort of effort genuinely to try and find that resolution, because it will be a big, big check coming up.
No doubt. And we know Manchester City have very deep pockets, and they're probably not so worried about the legal fees. Does this cost that the Premier League's going to have to shell out make it easier for Manchester City to potentially continue to drag it out, continue to make them spend money, and eventually win or settle in a way that is, better for them?
Yes, I think it does. I mean, I've always been very cynical about this. I've always thought when it comes time for Abu Dhabi to purchase 30 jets, and they come to the British government and say, "Okay, we'll give you this jet order, provided you solve the football league football problem." I've always had that sort of cynical thought about the whole thing, and yes, it's very hard for the Premier League to fight against the nation state. This has always been the fear of having the owners coming in like this, and so yes, it's a big problem, and it's got to be as transparent as possible. And if we do find, and these things will come out in the end. And if we find there's undue pressure being applied politically in some way, and it will come out at some stage, it may not be tomorrow or next year or 5 years' time, but it will come out. It will be one hell of a scandal, and I hope that's not going to be the case.
And does a case like this potentially make the Premier League or the FA or any of the governing bodies look at allowing nation states or potential Middle East buyers come in and kind of change their mind about that being allowed?
I don't think it necessarily changes the mind about the owners, but it certainly shows that there should be better controls on how the money is spent. And that's probably what this case is about in many ways, is how the money is spent and trying to limit that in some way. And we know that's a really difficult thing. The NFL have had great success, as we've discussed before, on wage caps and salary caps and those sort of things, and they've worked that through. And that's what's caused the great valuation of NFL franchises to go through the roof. The Premier League's got to find some sort of way to try and put a cap on the mad spending, and if it can find a way to do that, then that will be the answer to ownership issues.